Namashreshtam manamapi shachi putramatra sarupam Shri Rupam tasyagrajam uruparim matarim goshtavatim Radha kundam girivaramoho radhika madhavasham Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Shri Gurum tam natosmi He Guru Gyanadandina Bandho Swarandadata Kodanaika Sindho Vrindavana Sina Hitavrata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachaya He Guru Dina Bandho Swarandadata Kodanaika Sindho Laksha Parade Bahupapagade Tatpada Padne Stumatishta Krishna Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayastavesha Rama Yushapi Kritam Riddha Munasmayanta Yontar Bahistanubritam Ashubhan Vadunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusasvagatim Janakti Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Good morning, stalwarts. Thank you very much for setting the pace in the world for how to perform devotional service. And we're continuing with our reading of the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. Now we're at Madhya Lila chapter 19. The Lord instructs Srila Rupa Goswami. We're taking up at text number 17. Sri Sanatana Goswami used to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam in an assembly of 20 or 30 learned Brahmana scholars. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following commentary on the words Bhagavat Vichar as confirmed in the Mundaka Upanishad 1:1-4-5. There are two kinds of educational systems. One deals with transcendental knowledge, paravidya, and the other with material knowledge, aparavidya. All the Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda, along with their corollaries known as Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, and Jyotish, belong to the inferior system of material knowledge, aparavidya. By paravidya, one can understand the Akshara, Brahman, or the Absolute Truth. As far as the Vedic literature is concerned, the Vedanta Sutra is accepted as the Paravidya. Srimad Bhagavatam is an explanation of that Paravidya. Those who aspire for liberation, mukti, or moksha, and introduce themselves as Vaidantika, are also equal to those groups aspiring to improve religion, dharma, economic development, artha, and sense gratification, kama. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha are called chaturvarga. They are all within the system of inferior material knowledge. Any literature giving information about the spiritual world, spiritual life, spiritual identity, and the spirit soul is called paravidya. Srimad Bhagavatam does not have anything to do with the materialistic way of life. It gives transcendental information to educate people in the superior system of Paravidya. Sanatana Goswami was engaged in discussing the Bhagavata Vidya, which means that he discussed transcendental superior knowledge. Those who are karmis, gyanis, and yogis are not actually fit to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. Only Vaishnavas or pure devotees are fit to discuss that literature. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, 12:13-18. Srimad Bhagavatam pramanam amalam yad Vaishnavanam priyam yasmin paramaham ekam amalam jnanam param giyate yatra jnana viraga bhakti sahitam naishkarmyam avishkritam tachchinvan supatan vichana paro bhaktya vimuchen nara. Although Srimad Bhagavatam is counted among the Puranas, It is called the Spotless Purana because it does not discuss anything material. It is liked by transcendental Vaishnava devotees. The subject matter found in Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for Paramahamsas. As it is said, Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam. A Paramahamsa is one who does not live in the material world and who does not envy others. In Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is discussed to arouse the living entity to the transcendental position of jnana, knowledge, and vairagya, renunciation. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.12, Tachchatadana mudayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantyatmani chatmanam bhakti shruta grahitaya. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. This is not sentiment. Knowledge and renunciation can be obtained through devotional service, bhaktya shruta grahitaya. That is, by arousing one's dormant devotional consciousness, Krishna consciousness. When Krishna consciousness is aroused, it relieves one from fruitive activity for economic improvement and material enjoyment. This relief is technically called naishkarmya, and when one is relieved, he is no longer interested in working hard for sense gratification. Srimad Bhagavatam is Srila Vyasadev's last mature contribution, and one should read and hear it in an assembly of realized souls while engaging in devotional service. At such a time, one can be liberated from all material bondage. This was the course taken by Sanatana Goswami, who retired from government service to study Srimad Bhagavatam with learned scholars. While Sanatana Goswami was studying Srimad Bhagavatam in the assembly of learned brahmanas, one day the Nawab of Bengal and another person suddenly appeared. The full name of the Nawab of Bengal, Hussain Shah, was Alauddina Saidya Hussain Saha Saripa Makka, and he ruled Bengal for 23 years from 1420 to 1443 Shakabda era AD, 1498 to 1521. Sanatana Goswami was studying Srimad Bhagavatam with the scholars in the year 1424 AD, 1502. As soon as all the brahmanas and Sanatana Goswami saw the Nawab appear, they all stood up and respectfully gave him a sitting place to honor him. Purport: although Nawab Hussain Shah was a Mlecha Yavana, he was nonetheless the governor of the country, and the learned scholars and Sanatana Goswami offered him all the respect due a king or a governor. When a person occupies an exalted executive post, one should consider that he has acquired the grace of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Lord Krishna says, Yad yat vimudi vat sattvam Srimad Urjitam eva va tat tad eva vagacha tvam mama tejhom shasambhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring but from a spark of my splendor. Whenever we see something exalted, we must consider it a part of the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A powerful man, Vibhu Vimutimat Sattvam, is one who has obtained the grace of the Lord or has derived some power from him. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:10, Krishna says, Tejas Tejas Vinamaham. I am the power of the powerful. The learned Brahmana scholars showed respect to Nawab Hussain Shah because he represented a fraction of Krishna's power. The Nawab said, I sent my physician to you, and he has reported that you are not diseased. As far as he could see, you are completely healthy. I am depending on you to carry out so many of my activities, but you have given up your government duties to sit here at home. You have spoiled all my activities. What is your intention? Please tell me frankly. Sanatana Goswami replied, you can no longer expect any service from me. Please arrange for someone else to tend to the management. Becoming angry with Sanatana Goswami, the Nawab said, "Your elder brother is acting just like a plunderer. By killing many living entities, your elder brother has destroyed all Bengal. Now here you are destroying all my plans." Sanatana Goswami said, "You are the supreme ruler of Bengal and are completely independent. Whenever someone commits a fault, you punish him accordingly." Hearing this, the Nawab of Bengal stood up and returned to his home. He ordered the arrest of Sanatana Goswami so that he would not be able to leave. It is said that the relationship between the Nawab of Bengal and Sanatana Goswami was very intimate. The Nawab used to consider Sanatana Goswami his younger brother. And when Sanatana Goswami showed a very strong intention to resign, the Nawab, feeling familial affection, essentially said, "I'm your elder brother, but I do not look after the state management. My only business is attacking other states with my soldiers and fighting everywhere as a plunderer. Because I am a meat eater, Yavana, I'm used to hunting all kinds of living beings. In this way, I am destroying all kinds of living beings in Bengal. When engaged in this destructive business, I am hoping that you will tend to the administration of the state. Since I, your elder brother, am engaged in such destructive business, you, being my younger brother, should look after the state management. If you do not, how will things continue?" This talk was based on a family relationship, and Sanatana Goswami also replied in an intimate and joking way. Essentially, he told the Nawab, "My dear brother, you are the independent ruler of Bengal. You can act in whatever way you like. And if someone commits a fault, you can punish him accordingly." In other words, Sanatana Goswami was saying that since the Nawab was accustomed to acting like a plunderer, he should go ahead and take action. Since Sanatana was not showing much enthusiasm for performing his duty, the Nawab should dismiss him from his service. The Nawab could understand the intention of Sanatana Goswami's statement. He therefore left in an angry mood and ordered Sanatana Goswami's arrest. At this time, the Nawab was going to attack the province of Orissa, and he told Sanatana Goswami, "Come along with me." Hussain Shah attacked the neighboring province of Orissa in 1424, Shukhabda era 1502. At that time, he conquered the feudal princes there. Sanatana Goswami replied, "You are going to Orissa to give pain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For this reason, I am powerless to go with you." The Nawab again arrested Sanatana Goswami and kept him in prison. Why it says again? Huh? Why does it say again? Because did he get arrested and then let out? Otherwise, how could it say again? Huh?
Verse 27.
27. Hearing this, the Nawab Bengal stood up and returned to his home. He ordered the arrest of Sanatana Goswami so that he would not be able to leave. At this time, the Nawab was going to attack. He said, "Come with me." I guess he let him out for a minute. The two persons who went to Jagannath Puri to inquire about the Lord's departure returned and informed Rupa Goswami that the Lord had already departed for Vrindavan. Upon receiving this message from his two messengers, Rupa Goswami immediately wrote a letter to Sanatana Goswami saying that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had departed for Vrindavan. In his letter to Sanatana Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami wrote, "We two brothers are starting out to go see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. You must also somehow or other get released and come to meet us." The two brothers herein mentioned are Rupa Goswami and his younger brother, Anupam Malik. Rupa Goswami was informing Sanatana Goswami that he should join him and his younger brother. Rupa Goswami further informed Srila Sanatana Goswami, "I have left a deposit of 10,000 coins with the grocer. Use that money to get out of prison. Somehow or other get yourself released and come to Vrindavan." After writing this, the two brothers Rupa Goswami and Anupam went to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Rupa Goswami's younger brother was a great devotee whose actual name was Sri Ballabha. but he was given the name Anupam Malik. Sri Rupa Goswami and Anupam Malik went to Prayag, and they were very pleased to hear the news that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was there. At Prayag, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to see the temple of Bindu Madhava, and many hundreds of thousands of people followed him just to meet him. Some of the people following the Lord were crying, some were laughing, some were dancing, and some were chanting. Indeed, some of them were rolling on the ground, exclaiming, "Krishna, Krishna." Prayag is located at the confluence of two rivers, the Ganges and the Jamuna. Although these rivers were not able to flood Prayag with water, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu inundated the whole area with waves of ecstatic love for Krishna. Seeing the great crowd, the two brothers remained standing in a secluded place. They could see that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was ecstatic to see Lord Bindu Madhava. The Lord was loudly chanting the holy name of the Lord, dancing in ecstatic love and raising his arms. He asked everyone to chant. Hari, Hari, Hari. Everyone was astounded to see the greatness of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, I cannot properly describe the pastimes of the Lord at Prayag. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had made an acquaintance with a Brahmin from Deccan, South India, and that Brahmana invited him for meals and took him to his place. Deccan? Is Deccan, you sure? Where is it? Southwest India. Thank you. While Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting in a solitary place in the home of that Deccan Brahmana, Rupa Goswami and Sri Vallabha Anupam Malik came to meet him. Seeing the Lord from a distance, the two brothers put two clumps of straw between their teeth and immediately fell down on the ground like rods, offering him obeisances. Both brothers were overwhelmed with ecstatic emotion, and reciting various Sanskrit verses, they stood up and fell down again and again. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see Srila Rupa Goswami, and he told him, stand up, my dear Rupa, come here." Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "It is not possible to describe Krishna's mercy, for he has delivered you both from the well of material enjoyment." Lord Krishna said, "Even though a person is a very learned scholar in Sanskrit literature, he is not accepted as my devotee unless he is pure in devotional service. Even though a person is born in a family of dog-eaters, he is very dear to me if he is a pure devotee, who has no motive to enjoy fruit of activities or mental speculation. Indeed, all respects should be given to him, and whatever he offers should be accepted. Such devotees are as worshipable as I am." That's from the Hari Bhakti Vilas 10.127, compiled by Sanatana Goswami. After reading this verse, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu embraced the two brothers, and out of his causeless mercy, he placed his feet on their heads. After receiving the Lord's causeless mercy, the two brothers folded their hands and in great humility offered the following prayers. Namo Mahavadhanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gora Tvishe Namaha. O most munificent incarnation, you are Krishna himself appearing as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani, and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. We offer our respectful obeisances unto that merciful, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has converted all three worlds, which were maddened by ignorance, and saved them from their diseased condition by making them mad with the nectar from the treasure house of the love of God. Let us take full shelter of that personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, whose activities are wonderful. Govinda Lilamrita. After this, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu sat them down by his side and asked them, "What news do you have of Sanatan?" Rupa Goswami replied, "Sanatan has now been arrested by the government of Hussein Shah. If you kindly save him, he can be liberated from that entanglement." Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replied, "Sanatan has already been released from his confinement, and he will very soon meet with me." The Brahmana then requested Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to accept his lunch. Rupa Goswami also remained there that day. Balabhadra Bhattacharya invited the two brothers to take lunch also. The remnants of food from the plate of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu were offered to them. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu selected his residence beside the confluence of the Ganges and the Jamuna, a place called Triveni. The two brothers, Rupa Goswami and Sri Ballabha, selected their residence near the Lord. At that time, Sri Ballabha Bhatta was staying at Adailagram, and when he heard that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived, he went to his place to see him. Ballabha Bhatta was a great learned scholar of Vaishnavism. In the beginning, he was very much devoted to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, but since he thought that he could not receive proper respect from him, he later joined the Vishnu Swami sect and became the Acharya of that sect. His sect is celebrated as the Ballabha Sampradaya. This Sampradaya has had great influence in Vrindavan near Gokula and in Bombay. Ballabha Bhatta wrote many books, including a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam called Subodhini Tika, and notes on the Vedanta Sutra in the form of an Anubhashya. He also wrote a combination of 16 short works called Sodasha Grantha. The village where he was staying, Adailagram or Adeligram, was near the confluence of the river Ganges and Jamuna, on the other side of the Jamuna from Prayag, about 1 mile from the river. A temple of Lord Vishnu there still belongs to the Ballabha Sampradaya. Ballabha Bhatta was originally from a place in southern India called Trilanga. There is a railway station there called Nidhada Balu. 16 miles from that station is a village called Kankadabada, or Kundrapadu. A learned Brahmana named Lakshman Dikshita used to live there, and Ballabha Bhatta was his son. His father was Kunharapadu, a learned Brahmana named Lakshman Dikshita. There are 5 sections of the Brahmin community of Andhra Pradesh, known as Belanati, Veginati, Murakinati, Telugunati, and Kashalanati. Out of these 5 Brahminical communities, Ballabhacharya took his birth in the community of Belanati in the year 1400 Shakabda era, 1478. What was his age relative to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu?
8 years older.
He's 8 years older, thank you. According to some people, Ballabha Bhattacharya's father took sannyas before Ballabha's birth, and he returned home to take Ballabhacharya as his son. According to the opinion of others, Ballabhacharya was born in 1400 Shakabda era on the Ekadashi day of the dark moon in the month of Chaitra, and he took his birth in a Brahmin family surnamed Kambhampati Baru. According to this account, his father's name was Lakshmana Bhatta Dikshita, and he was born in Champakaranya. In someone else's opinion, Ballabhacharya appeared near the village named Champajaragram, which is near a railway station named Rajima in Madhya Pradesh. After studying for 11 years at Varanasi, Ballabhacharya returned home. On his return, he heard that his father had departed from the material world. Keeping his brother and mother at home, he went to the banks of the river Tungabhadra, to a village called Vidyanagara, where he enlightened Krishna Dev, the grandson of King Bukharaj. After that, he traveled throughout India thrice on trips lasting 6 years each. Thus, he passed 18 years and became victorious in his discussions of revealed scriptures. When he was 30 years old, he married Mahalakshmi, who belonged to the same Brahmana community as his. Near Govardhana hill, he established a deity in the valley. Finally, he came to Adaila, which is on the other side of the Jamuna from Prayag. Vallabhacharya had 2 sons, Gopinath and Vitaleshwar, and in his old age he accepted the renounced order. In 1452 Shakabda era AD 1530, he passed away from the material world at Varanasi. His book known as Shodasha Grantha and his commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra, Anubhasha, and Srimad Bhagavatam Subodhini are very famous. He wrote many other books besides. Vallabha Bhattacharya offered Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's obeisances, and the Lord embraced him. After that, they discussed topics about Krishna for some time. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu felt great ecstatic love when they began discussing Krishna, but the Lord checked his feelings because he felt shy before Vallabha Bhatta. Although the Lord restrained himself, externally ecstatic love raged within. There was no checking that. Vallabha Bhatta was astonished to detect this. Thereafter, Vallabha Bhatta invited Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch, and the Lord introduced the brothers Rupa and Vallabha to him. From a distance, the brothers Rupa Goswami and Sri Vallabha fell on the ground and offered obeisances to Vallabha Bhatta with great humility. When Vallabha Bhattacharya walked toward them, they ran away to a more distant place. Rupa Goswami said, "I am untouchable and most sinful. Please do not touch me." Vallabha Bhattacharya was very much surprised at this. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, however, was very pleased, and he therefore spoke to him this description of Rupa Goswami. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Don't touch him, for he belongs to a very low caste. You are a follower of Vedic principles and are a well-experienced performer of many sacrifices. You also belong to the aristocracy." Purport: generally, Brahmanas are puffed up with false prestige because they belong to the aristocracy and perform many Vedic sacrifices. In South India especially, this fastidious position is most prominent. At any rate, this was the case 500 years ago. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu actually started a revolution against this Brahminical system by inaugurating the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Really important sentence. Scale of 1 to 10. 10. 10. That's a lot. By this chanting, one can be delivered regardless of caste, creed, color, or social position. Whoever chants the Hare Krishna mantra is immediately purified due to the transcendental position of devotional service. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was here hinting to Vallabhacharya that an exalted Brahmana who makes sacrifices and follows Vedic principles should not neglect a person who is engaged in devotional service by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Actually, Rupa Goswami did not belong to a lower caste. He was from a highly aristocratic Brahmin family, but due to his association with the Muslim Nawab, he was considered fallen and was excommunicated from Brahmana society. However, due to his advanced devotional service, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as a Goswami. Vallabha Bhattacharya knew all this. One who is a devotee is above caste and creed, yet Vallabha Bhattacharya felt himself prestigious. The present head of the Vallabha Bhattacharya Sampradaya of Bombay is named Dikshita Maharaj. He is very friendly to our movement, and whenever we meet him, this learned Brahmin scholar highly praises the activities of the Hare Krishna movement. He is a life member of our society, and although he is a learned scholar in the Brahminical caste tradition, he accepts our society and considers its members bona fide devotees of Lord Krishna. Hearing the holy name constantly vibrated by the two brothers, Vallabha Bhattacharya could understand the hints of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Vallabha Bhattacharya said, since these two are constantly chanting the holy name of Krishna, how can they be untouchable? On the contrary, they are most exalted. Purport. Vallabha Bhattacharya's admission of the brother's exalted position should serve a lesson to one who is falsely proud of his position as a Brahmana. Sometimes so-called Brahmanas do not recognize our European and American disciples as devotees of Brahmana or Brahmanas. And some Brahmanas are so proud that they do not allow them to enter temples. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu herein gives a great lesson. Although Vallabha Bhattacharya was a great authority on Brahmanism and a learned scholar, he admitted that those who chant the Lord's holy name are bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and are therefore exalted. Aho Bhattashva Pachato Gariyan Yajivagre Vartite Namatubhyam Tipus Tapaste Juhu Sasna Arya Ramanachur Namagrananti Yete. Vallabha Bhatta then recited the following verse: My dear Lord, who always keeps your holy name, one who always keeps us. Okay. Vallabha Bhattacharya then recited the following verse: My dear Lord, one who always keeps your holy name on his tongue becomes greater than an initiated Brahmana, although he may be born in a family of dog-eaters, and may therefore, by material calculation, be the lowest among men. He is still glorious. This is the wonderful effect of chanting the holy name of the Lord. It is therefore concluded that one who chants the holy name of the Lord should be understood to have performed all kinds of austerities and great sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. He has already taken his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. He has studied all the Vedas, and he is actually an Aryan. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-7. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to hear Vallabha Bhatta quoting from Shastra about the position of a devotee. The Lord praised him personally, and feeling ecstatic love of Godhead, began to quote many verses from Shastra. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, a person who has the pure characteristic of a Brahmana due to devotional service, which is like a blazing fire burning to ashes all the sinful reactions of past lives, is certainly saved from the consequences of sinful acts, such as taking birth in a lower family. Even though he may be born in a family of dog-eaters, he is recognized by learned scholars. But although a person may be a learned scholar in Vedic knowledge, he is not recognized if he is an atheist. This verse and the next are quoted from Haribhakti Sudodaya, a transcendental literature extracted from the Puranas. What is the Haribhakti Sudodaya? It's a transcendental literature extracted from the Puranas. I wonder if it's a compendium of verses from the Purana. Somebody look it up. What exactly is the Haribhakti Sudodaya? And did Banu Maharaj translate it yet?
Added to the homework group.
Add it to the homework group. But we may get the answer before you even add it. It's part of the Naradiya Purana. That's it?
Focusing on Prema Bhakti.
Focusing on Prema Bhakti. To Bhagavan Sri Narahari. Haribhakti Sudodaya.
Yes, Haribhakti Sudodaya is a significant Vaishnava scripture, part of the Naradiya Purana, focusing on Prema Bhakti, loving devotion to Bhagavan Sri Narahari. It illustrates the importance of nurturing devotion and the effects of interacting with pure devotees, featuring stories of figures like Dhruva and Prahlad. The text emphasizes how sincere devotion, rather than mere knowledge or ritual, purifies the heart and leads to spiritual growth.
Is it translated by Bhanu Swami?
No.
He didn't do that one?
He just finished Haribhakti last
Must be on vacation. Just finished the Hari Bhakti Vilas. I don't know what'll happen now then. For a person devoid of devotional service, birth in a great family or nation, knowledge of the revealed scriptures, performance of austerities and penance, and chanting of the Vedic mantras are all like ornaments on a dead body. Such ornaments simply serve the concocted pleasures of the general populace. Bhagavat bhaktihinasya jati shastram chapastapa apranasyeva dehasya mandanam lokaranjanam. Mandanam lokaranjanam. When he saw the Lord's ecstatic love, Ballabha Bhattacharya was certainly very much astonished. He was also astonished by the Lord's knowledge of the essence of devotional service, as well as by his personal beauty and influence. Ballabha Bhattacharya then put Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates aboard a boat and took them to his own place to offer them lunch. While crossing the river Jamuna, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw the glossy black water and was immediately bewildered with ecstatic love. Indeed, as soon as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw the river Jamuna, he immediately made a great sound and jumped into the water. Everyone was filled with fear and trembling to see this. They all hastily grabbed Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and pulled him out of the water. Once on the boat's platform, the Lord began to dance. Due to the Lord's heavy weight, the boat began to tilt. It began filling up with water and was on the verge of sinking. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu tried to restrain himself as far as possible before Ballabha Bhattacharya. But although he tried to keep calm, his ecstatic love could not be checked. Seeing the circumstances, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu finally became calm so that the boat was able to reach the shore of Adaila and land there. Fearing for the Lord's welfare, Ballabha Bhattacharya stayed in his association. After arranging for his bath, the Bhattacharya took the Lord to his own house. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at his home, Ballabha Bhattacharya, being greatly pleased, offered the Lord a nice sitting place and personally washed his feet. Ballabha Bhattacharya and his whole family then sprinkled that water over their heads, and then they offered the Lord new underwear and outer garments. Ballabhacharya worshipped the Lord with great pomp, offering incense, flowers, and lamps, and with great respect he induced Ballabha Bhattacharya. Ballabhacharya worshipped the Lord with great pomp, offering incense, flowers, and lamps, and with great respect he induced Balabhadra Bhattacharya, the Lord's cook, to cook. Thus Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was offered lunch with great care and affection. The brothers Rupa Goswami and Sri Ballabha were also offered food. Just as far as chronology goes, he's with Balabhadra Bhattacharya. They're traveling to Vrindavan.
Traveling back.
That was from the previous chapter. Balabhadra Bhattacharya insisted.
So they're back with, they left the Sanadiya Brahmin. Where did he come to? They wanted to come. But at least Balabhadra, they're on their way back and they came back to Prayag. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
To bathe for the Magha Mela.
To what?
To bathe for the Magha Mela.
Oh, to bathe for Magh Mela. Okay. And that's where Rupa Goswami caught up to him. Thus Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was offered lunch with great care and affection. The brothers Rupa Goswami and Sri Ballabha were also offered food. Ballabha Bhattacharya first offered the remnants of the Lord's food to Srila Rupa Goswami and then to Kṛṣṇa Das. Kṛṣṇa Das?
That's the Brahmana.
Okay, so they all came.
Yeah.
The Lord was then given spices to purify his mouth. Afterwards he was made to rest, and Ballabha Bhattacharya personally massaged his legs. When Ballabha Bhattacharya was massaging him, the Lord asked him to go take prasadam. After taking prasadam, he returned to the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, Raghupati Upadhyaya of the Tiruhita district arrived. He was a very learned scholar, a great devotee, and a respectable gentleman. Tiruhita, or Tirhutia, is a combination of 4 districts in Bihar: Saran, Champaran, Muzaffarpur, and Darbhanga. The people of this state are called Tirutiya. Raghupati Upadhyaya first offered his respects to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord gave him his blessing, saying, always stay in Krishna consciousness. Krishna Matir Rahu Bali. Krishna Mati Rahu. Just remain always Krishna conscious. Raghupati Upadhyaya was very pleased to hear the Lord's blessings. The Lord then asked him to describe Krishna. When Raghupati Upadhyaya was requested to describe Krishna, he began to recite some verses he had personally composed about Krishna's pastimes. Hearing those verses, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. Shrutim apare smitim itare, bharatam anye bhajantu bhavapita, aham iha nandam mande yasya linde param brahma. Raghupati Upadhyaya recited, those who are afraid of material existence worship the Vedic literatures. Some worship Smriti, the corollaries to Vedic literature, and others worship Mahabharata. As far as I'm concerned, I worship Krishna's father, Maharaj Nanda, in whose courtyard the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is playing. This verse recited by Raghupati Upadhyaya was later included in Sri Rupa Goswami's Padyavali. When Raghupati Upadhyaya was requested by the Lord to recite more, he immediately offered his respects to the Lord and granted his request. Kam prati katayit katyatam ishe sampratiko pratitam ayatu gopatitanaya kunje gopa vadhuti vitam brahma. To whom can I speak? Who will believe me when I say that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is hunting the gopis in the bushes by the banks of the river Jamuna? In this way, the Lord demonstrates his pastimes. This verse was also later included in the Padyavali. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu requested Raghupati Upadhyaya to continue speaking about the pastimes of Sri Krishna. Thus the Lord was absorbed in ecstatic love, and his mind and body slackened. Purport: our minds and bodies are always engaged in material activities. When they are activated on the spiritual platform, they slacken on the material platform. When Raghupati Upadhyaya saw Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic symptoms, he decided that the Lord was not a human being, but Krishna himself. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked Raghupati Upadhyaya, according to your decision, who is the foremost being? Raghupati Upadhyaya replied, Lord Shyamasundara is the supreme form. Of all Krishna's abodes, which do you think is the best? Raghupati Upadhyaya said, Madhupuri or Mathura Dham is certainly best. Puri Madhupurivara Shambru Peravastan Shrestha Manakai Puri Madhupurich Vara Kahe Upadhyay. Lord Krishna has many forms, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 533. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked Raghupati Upadhyaya which form was the best of Lord Krishna's millions of forms, and he immediately replied that the supreme form was the Shyamasundar form. In that form, Krishna stands curved in 3 places and holds a flute. The Shamasundar form is also described in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shamasundaram achincha gunasarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shamasundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. Those who are filled with ecstatic love for Krishna always see the form of Shamasundar within their hearts. Raghupati Upadhyaya confirms that the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has many incarnations: Narayan, Nrsimha, Varaha, and others. Ram Nrsimha Varaha Kurma Avatara Avatari. But Krishna is distinguished as the supermost. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Krishna means Shamasundar, who plays his flute in Vrindavan. Of all forms, this form is the best of all. Krishna lives sometimes in Mathura and sometimes in Dwarka, but Mathura is considered the better place. This is also confirmed by Rupa Goswami in his Upadeshamrita, Vaikuntash Janito Vara Marupuri. Marupuri or Mathura is far superior to the Vaikuntha Lokas in the spiritual world. Mathura Puri ki. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked, of the 3 ages of Krishna, known as childhood, boyhood, and fresh youth, which do you consider best? Raghupati Upadhyaya replied, fresh youth is the best age. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked, of all the mellows, which do you consider best? Raghupati Upadhyaya replied, the mellow of conjugal love is supermost. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then said, you have certainly given first-class conclusions. After saying this, he began to recite the verse, the full verse in a faltering voice. Shamam evam param rupam puri maru purivara vaya kaishorakam dyeyam adya eva parovata. The form of Shamasundar is the supreme form. The city of Mathura is the supreme abode. Lord Krishna's fresh youth should always be meditated upon, and the mellow of conjugal love is the supreme mellow. This verse is found in Padmavali. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Raghupati Upadhyaya in ecstatic love. Raghupati Upadhyaya was overwhelmed by love, and he began to dance. Vallabha Bhattacharya was struck with wonder to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Raghupati Upadhyaya dance. He even brought forward his 2 sons and made them fall down at the Lord's lotus feet. The 2 sons of Vallabhacharya, wait a minute, it says Vallabha Bhattacharya. Well, I'm getting the 2 confused. Who's his cook? Balabhadra, just period, Balabhadra. Okay, Vallabha Bhattacharya was struck with wonder. The 2 sons of Vallabhacharya were Gopinath and Vitaleshwar. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Prayag in the year 1434, that's 1435 Shakabda era AD 1512 or 1513, Vitaleshwar was not yet born. In this regard, one should see Madhya Lila. It's pretty good that he was able to bow down before being born, though. That just means there's an anomaly or something. Upon hearing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived, all the villagers went to see him. Simply by seeing him, they all became devotees of Krishna. All the brahmanas of the village were eager to extend invitations to the Lord, but Vallabha Bhattacharya forbade them to do so. Vallabha Bhatta then decided not to keep Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Adaila because the Lord had jumped into the river Jamuna in ecstatic love. Therefore he decided to bring him to Prayag. Vallabha Bhatta said, if anyone likes, he can go to Prayag and extend invitations to the Lord. In this way he took the Lord with him and departed for Prayag. It's a hard service. Vallabha Bhattacharya avoided the river Jamuna, putting the Lord on a boat in the river Ganges. He went with him to Prayag. Due to the great crowds in Prayag, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to a place called Dashashvamedha Ghat. It was there that the Lord instructed Sri Rupa Goswami and empowered him in the philosophy of devotional service. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shriyate, the Supreme Lord has multi-potencies which the Lord bestows on his fortunate devotees. The Lord has a special potency by which he spreads the Krishna consciousness movement. This is explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kali Kalera Dharm Krishna Nam Sankirtan, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahitar Pravartan. One cannot spread the holy name of Krishna without being specifically empowered by Lord Krishna. A devotee who receives this power from the Lord must be considered very fortunate. The Krishna consciousness movement is spreading to enlighten people about their real position, their original relationship with Krishna. One requires Krishna's special power in order to be able to do this. People forget their relationship with Krishna and work under the spell of Maya, life after life, transmigrating from one body to another. This is the process of material existence. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna personally descends to teach people that their position in the material world is a mistaken one. The Lord again comes as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to induce people to take to Krishna consciousness. The Lord also empowers a special devotee to teach people their constitutional position. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu taught Srila Rupa Goswami the ultimate limit of the truth about Krishna, the truth about devotional service, and the truth about transcendental mellows, culminating in conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. Finally, he told Rupa Goswami about the ultimate conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu taught Rupa Goswami all the conclusions he had heard from Ramananda Roy and duly empowered him so that he could understand them. By entering the heart of Rupa Goswami, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu empowered him to ascertain properly the conclusions of all truths. He made him an experienced devotee whose decisions correctly agreed with the verdicts of the disciplic succession. Thus, Sri Rupa Goswami was personally empowered by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The principles, purport, of devotional service are only apparently under the jurisdiction of material activity. To be rightly guided, one must be personally guided by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This was the case with Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and other acharyas. Now we'll take a few reflections or questions. Phone lines are open. Our operators are standing by to take your calls. Go, Paul.
Hare Krishna. I really appreciated just before they traveled to Prayag, upon the description of Shyam Sundar, they all danced. Very ecstatic moment there.
I find it very interesting that there is a subtle etiquette which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is observing in relationship to Vallabha Bhatta Acharya, and how it's not that he doesn't have the realizations that he has or the consciousness that he has, but he chooses to keep it covered in the company of some, and then reveals it to others, like in the company of the Sanodiya Brahmana. He really just reveals everything within Vallabha Bhattacharya. He's feeling it should remain concealed. So there's a subtlety for navigating the world with what we reveal to some people and what we keep to ourselves. I was wondering if you could speak on this principle.
What's more, it indicates how knowledge is imparted to somebody. If the Lord feels confident in us, then and has faith in us, then he reveals more. And if we're great scholars, but we have some ulterior motive, then he may withhold it, just as he's obviously withholding from Vallabhacharya. And so your observation is astute and practical. Mahendra.
Regarding the dancing, we've seen so many instances that devotees are, in Mahaprabhu also, dancing in the boat, but Tapana Mishra, when he saw him and invited him in his house, and after washing his feet, he just started dancing, waving his cloth. So that's very ecstatic scenes that devotees just can't hold their ecstatic emotions and just start dancing out of this intense love. And it seems that Prabhupada, when he mentioned about the second son, the Vitaleshvara, who was the main figure after that with his 7 sons, he was born in 1515. So it seems like in the other place where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati mentioned about one of the places, like there is some inconsistency in Krishnadas Kaviraj's account. Because he says the two sons offered obeisances, but one was not born.
Right.
And the bigger one, the Gopinath, he was, you know that Kartik Chandra is from Vallabha Sampradaya's lineage in terms of, he has 17 generations. His father was a disciple of his grand, you know, the first one who is there. I think his name was Govardhana Das. So he was a disciple of, I think, the bigger brother, Gopinath. And they were big friends with Raghunath Das Goswami. It's mentioned in their literature in the Vallabha Sampradaya. They were very close. And this instance, which the story of Raghunath Das Goswami, when he got sick, and because of meditation, in his meditation, he ate with Mahaprasad. The case is that Gopinath sent 2 physicians to check, and they both said it's from overeating, but he's not eating anything. Every 2 days, just a little bit buttermilk. So there is this connection, and they were very close. And as we heard from previous chapter, Rupa Goswami and the other Goswamis, they went to Vitaleshvara in Mathura to see the Gopal deity. So they are very close.
Thank you very much for bringing the details to light. Very helpful. Outside People's Party, we have we have an unembodied hand.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question.
Okay.
So in the Nectar of Instruction, we have a verse saying that superior to Vaikuntha is Mathura, and even superior to Mathura is Vrindavan Dham. And here when Vallabhacharya, is it Vallabhacharya? I think other devotee, when he says that Mathurapuri is the most superior, and Caitanya Mahaprabhu says he is right in his conclusion. So I didn't understand the difference, like between Nectar of Instruction and when here we read that Madhurapuri is the superior abode.
Well, there are 2 ways in which Mathura is mentioned. One way is as the area in which Lord Krishna appeared from Vasudeva Devaki, and Mathura as the entire district. Like when we write on our immigration forms, where are you going, we say Mathura Vrindavan, because we're going to Mathura Vrindavan. We're going to go to Vrindavan, but it's in Mathura district. So it's more in that mood. There are many more verses in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita which are really sweet about how just the name Mathura can purify anyone taken back to Godhead. If you just think about the town itself or the name of it and so forth. In those cases, it's talking categorically about the district. We say Mathura Puri, that's the way it is. Plus, They didn't go further in the conversation anyway, because then he could have gone from Mathura to Vrindavan to Govardhana to Radhakund. Nitya Tarangani? Uh-oh, they froze.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I understand now.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you for such an important question. Anybody else from the outside People's Party? We have Mukharavind.
Guru Maharaj, in the verse 67, when Rupa Goswami said, I am untouchable and most sinful bliss, do not touch me. I had a question like where we draw the genuine humility and false humility. Here we know that he was having genuine humility, but also we know that he was from from Brahminical background and everything, but still he's saying these things. If you have any advice.
You'd have to have been there to appreciate the context also. Because although we don't take such things seriously nowadays, the difference in the Brahminical culture and non-Brahminical culture, back then it was highly pronounced. Besides that, he's genuinely humble. But the main point is, when it came to doing a service, he didn't say, oh, I can't write anything because I'm not advanced enough. He's humble at the right times. Humility doesn't mean that one claims that one's unqualified to do one's service. Rather, humility would mean, although I'm unqualified, I'll do my service because I'm not doing it, it's the Lord doing it through me, so I'll just become the instrument. So Rupa Goswami is the epitome of that. And although he's appropriately humble before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's the acharya of our sampradaya, because in the most humble act he allowed to be used as an instrument to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. So be humble where it counts. Okay? Vaishnavi.
Hare Krishna, Vaisesika Prabhu. On text 64, I found it interesting. It says the Vallabha Bhatta was astonished to detect the Lord's ecstatic mood. And previously we read that it's only by Krishna's mercy that one can recognize a pure devotee, and within our Krishna consciousness movement we are taught to respect all living entities, what to speak of devotees. So I found it interesting that here there's a slight subtle nuance that as devotees make progress, they are searching for fine-tuning their association. So when they, through humility and sincerity, Krishna is directing them to observe and see who they can hear from and learn from, and get that more finer, like boiling the milk, that fine-tuned association.
Well, it's a very important point. This is the main stimulus for advancing in devotional services. Like-minded association with devotees who are more advanced than oneself. And being able to detect that requires one's very deep realization. Because if we don't have a realization, we just take for granted when we're in exalted association. Think, yeah, I could do that. Like people sometimes, they'll watch the Olympics on their television. The guy sets a world record for the pole vault, and the guy's sitting there on the couch and he tells his wife, yeah, I could do that. I used to do that when I was in high school. No appreciation for somebody who's more advanced. And humility means being able to detect the more devotees, people who are more advanced than oneself. And of course, in deep, deep humility, one sees that one can learn from everybody. It's one of the benefits of preaching, going out into the world and seeing how the modes work, and also through the mouths of apparently just ordinary people controlled by the modes of material nature, one gets direction from Krishna, how to refine oneself, and one could hear that voice. Like once I was in Santa Cruz, and I maybe had some subtle pride that I was leaving everyone with a good impression, and so then I was talking to this one guy who looked really friendly. He kept walking in, and I requested him one too many times to take a look at the book, and he just turned and snapped at me like, "You guys are always pressuring people," something like that. And then I felt it was Kṛṣṇa noticing that I thought I was doing well, and then he kind of tamped that down a lot. So that can be there also. David Rata.
Yeah, I remember, just similar to that, I remember I was on book distribution, and I was wanting to do a certain number of sets of books, Saptarishis, and I was at like 5, and I really wanted to get to 10. And so my approach became a little bit stronger than usual. And I remember I got to 8, and then this lady, she said, you shouldn't be so aggressive. And then she walked away, and then I asked my Sankirtan partner, I said, "What do you think, Prabhu? Is it true?" He said, "Sometimes, Prabhu, you should just calm down a little bit." So then I calmed down, and then she came back 2 hours later, and she ended up buying a septa.
Haribo. Case in point. Anybody else? Okay, Namachintamani, you want to give a report? Or does Nitya Tarangani have the report?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, it will be Nitya Tarangani.
Okay.
Just right now, this second, we have one question posted to Facebook.
Okay.
It is from Preeti Purna Mataji. Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Is pure Brahmana and a Vaishnava same in the context mentioned when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to take a Brahmana along with him? How do we know that a Brahmana is pure and good to associate with? This is in context to yesterday's discussion.
Vipradushad gunayatara rabindanava padara binda vukachvapacham barvishtam manyeta darpita manovachane hitarta pranam punati sukalam natuburi manaha. The opinion of Prahlad Maharaj, he said, one may be a Brahmana who is experienced and highly learned in all the categories of Brahminical knowledge, but if he's not a devotee, then he's lower than the proverbial dog eater or the ubiquitous dog eater who has devotion for Krishna, because the Brahman can't purify himself, can't even purify himself, what to speak of others, whereas the dog eater, who's a devotee of the Lord, can purify not only himself but his whole family. And that's the standard. Also, we've heard at least twice, aho batashva pachato gariyanya jivagre vartati namatu vyam te pusta pasteja vusnasta arya brahmana churnama grananti ete. Famous pivotal verse from Devahuti about how if somebody can chant the holy name of the Lord, then they're considered already, Brahmanism is within them. So there's no other standard except for that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not that one's a pure Brahmin, and if he's devoid of Vaishnavism, then he's okay. But one has to be a Vaishnava, and then Brahmanism is included within him. And maybe he's got to repeat the question, because I might have missed the essence of it, because I'm assuming that Preeti Purva knows that already, but she's asking something else. Please repeat one more time.
Is pure Brahmana and a Vaishnava same in the context mentioned when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to take a Brahmana along with him? How do we know that a Brahmana is pure and good to associate with?
I'll stick with my answer. If he's a Vaishnava, then he's pure. If he's not a Vaishnava, doesn't matter what he knows or what family he comes from, he's not pure. So the conclusion of all Brahmanism is that one becomes a devotee. So is it synonymous if you say pure Brahman and a Vaishnav? That would be nomenclature for the fact that he's pure means that he's also a Vaishnav. Otherwise, no deal. Any other things?
There is one more comment from Agnes Joan Stroiler. He's saying most of yoga groups are Mayavadi and devotees go and preach in these yoga places all the time. I think we should not be escapists. We should be strong in our belief and don't be scared of preaching Mayavadis.
Preaching to Mayavadis. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And how to preach and at what level is a matter of adjustment. Please note that in the chapter 5 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, the discussion is between Narada Muni and Srila Vyasadeva, who's the literary incarnation of the Lord, about how to adjust Vyasadeva's preaching. And that indicates that if Srila Vyasadeva has to adjust, everybody's got to adjust. And that's a matter of realization. Realization means knowing how to adjust the preaching according to the audience. For instance, if we're talking to devotees who are initiated and then suddenly a person who's fresh off the street walks in and sits down with a smile on his face and eagerness to hear, although the person has no idea what we're talking about, one has to then adjust the message so that the person can understand it. But I agree with your point. Agnes is a woman's name, no? Anyway, that means that the conclusion of the conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva, Narada said he forgot to mention the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitam nashobhate jnanam alam niranjanam kutakmana shashvata padramishvare nacharpitam karma yadapyakaranam. Means that if you preach Naishkarmyam and just say we're spirit soul, we're beyond the scope of the material world as spiritual souls, and don't engage in fruitive work, realize yourself. He said that's not very nice. The shobhate, it's not beautiful. And it's not, but that's consequential because he says, Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitan. If you don't have a chuta bhava, some sense of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you have some love for God, that wow, he said that's beautiful. The rest of it, it's everywhere. Everyone's preaching that, and most of it leads to Mayavad. So we have to bring it to past that threshold to present artfully and in a way that people can understand it and have the context about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, what did you actually do? And that's what Narada says to him. You really blew it. He said, this is disgusting what you did. Jagupsitam. He said, Jagupsitam, this really is disgusting. After compiling everything, he said, so go back, have a do-over, go home, go to your house, meditate, try to come out with something else, do a rewrite. And actually that's what it is, because the ideas were there, but he didn't complete it. So he goes into samadhi, and he comes out of samadhi, and then he speaks samadhi bhashya, which means he had direct darshan with the Lord, and then he was able to speak about the Lord's pastimes. That's what the Srimad Bhagavatam is, the full-blown presentation. And only that, which is the whole point of the discussion about what attracted Shukadeva Goswami back to his father's house to learn the Bhagavatam, is that it's transcendental to the material world, and it's far beyond Naishkarmyam. What to speak of fruitive activities, which are there in the Vedas also, which he said, those are from the very beginning, those are the cause of suffering. No bell yet, so we'll see if there's one more.
There is one last reflection,
Okay.
and Pritipurna Madhya Mataji says, thank you.
Oh, thanks for such a nice question.
This reflection is from Samya Pras Prabhu. He's saying,
Samya Prash is listening. Wow.
He's saying Gauranga, and his reflection is, only with devotional perspective one properly understands Vedanta as it is.
What a nice statement. All I can say is, we're missing you over here, Samya Prash. We have a chair for you. It's right over here. Show him the chair. That's your chair. We keep it open. And we can't get no bhav. So hope to see you soon again. And your chair is ready for you. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Radhe Shyam. If you so desire, please give us realization of all the points we're hearing in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, aligned with Srila Prabhupada's mood and method of presenting Krishna consciousness, and please empower us to impart these lessons to the hearts of the innocent but uneducated in the world. Thank you for uneducated in spiritual science. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Hari Bo. Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Vanchakalpadurvishya Kripa Sindhabevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. We'll see you back here at 10:30. 10:30. Hare Krishna.